Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bob's Bookshelf. I'm your host, Bob. Today, a terrific book about design in California called Earthquakes, Mudslides, Fires, and Riots, California and Graphic Design, 1936 to 1986. Just a delightful, exuberant, colorful, beautiful, I don't know, I hesitate to say, but zany book about design in California. Interestingly, for a book about graphic design, there are no specific design credits in this book. I read through the acknowledgments, and there's a ton of people mentioned, and maybe that's why there are no call out credits for this, but the author, and I'm going to assume the design lead on this book, is Louise Sandhaus. And the great thing about Louise Sandhaus, among many things, is that her design firm is Louise Sandhaus Design, known by the acronym LSD. Seems good for this book especially. Another interesting thing about this book is that it uses a suite of custom typefaces designed by Jens Gehlhaar. And so we'll see especially the display versions of some of those as we go through. So all in all, a book that has a lot of visual impact, but also exquisite details. And for me, that's just an unbeatable combination. So anyway, with that introduction, let's pin the main image and get started. Okay, there we go. So first of all, holographic foil for part of the title. Gradient in California, and then graphic design is treated straight, which I think is kind of a funny little illusion, and lots of gradients all the way through this book. The book is bound quarter bound, even though it's more than a quarter, but that's a kind of binding where the sheet is wrapped around part of the book, and then it's cloth that goes from the front of the book to the spine to the back. On this book, even something as easily overlooked as the barcode is designed in beautifully. So all the way through, many details. Love this spine with the stamping on it. Just terrific. Let's get started on the inside. So we have end papers with a pattern of the shape of the state of California and a palm tree and some other trees that I can't quite identify. What I also really like is that the color changes from front to back, okay? There's no reason why everything has to be perfectly consistent all the way through. Even the head and tail bands are an interesting color, this alternating green and white stripes. Super fun, and we're barely into this book. Okay, so this is the traditional location of the half title. This book doesn't do it that way, which I think is a great sign of things to come. All right, it has this interesting sequence of images at the beginning that sort of sets up the story for what the book is about. And then we get to the title page here. All right, with the classic gradient. The table of contents are treated in a very straightforward way, as is the introduction. But as we'll see as we go through, there are little things all the way through this book where the designers are playing with our expectations. So the text width on the left page is this wide, and it's slightly narrower on the right, okay? There's a lovely little dingbat down here pointing to the running footer. We turn the page and we see again the wider column on the left and the narrower column on the right. Okay, and it runs all the way through that way. Then we get to this little section divider and opener. So these are the, this is from the Typefaces by Jens Gehlhaar, and the name of this suite of faces is called the CIA Compendium. So we have a quote, and then we have a section divider, Sun-Baked Modernism, then a pattern, and then the introduction, which runs on. We have, again, dingbats that call back to this dingbat to divide the sections. Then we have these terrific diagrams. There's one of these for each section where the author and designers diagram influences and intersections between different people and institutions in California. So you can sort of follow around who the main players are in any category and see how they're related, or in the case of these folks, not particularly related. Okay. Then we get to an essay for the section. In each section, there's a decorative field here that highlights the author's name, and then the text begins. All right. Sections within the essay, larger type in color, bringing us into the text. Super fun. Okay. Then there's a technique used throughout where vintage texts are quoted, and the way they are shown is by reproducing the original source. Okay. So this is an excerpt from an Alvin Lustig article, and it's just pictures of the actual book designed into the book. Same thing here with an article about Merle Armitage. What I really love is when the rest of the text needs to be brought onto this page because they break and start something else here. So the way the texts are completed with these little insets is also very, very fun. And there's a little glow around them as well. Super delightful. Okay. All right, now this begins the part of the section where individual designers and design teams are highlighted, and then some work is shown. So this is on Merle Armitage. This is some of his work. Alvin Lustig. Notice how the backgrounds are shifting. So all the way through the book, the field upon which the type rests changes continuously. Sometimes it's a field of color, sometimes it's outlined with some decorative material, and it's always in some way or another referring to the work of the designer. So here's Alvin Lustig again. And again, these incredible book covers for New Directions, Herbert Matter. So we have a poster for Disneyland with these two colors, pink and blue, and the field behind the text is a gradient from pink to blue. And these classic Disneyland promotional posters. Okay. Love this touch here where the text picks up on colors in the work, each paragraph in a different color. Beautiful. And fun. Okay, so let's jump ahead now to the next section. So this whole front section, or first section, has been printed on uncoated paper. And then when we get to this next section, the paper shifts to coated paper. Okay, so the colors are going to be a touch more dense. So we open with a quote set in typeface from Jens Gehlhaar, and then we get into this section, industry in the Indies. This is all about motion graphics. Again, the diagram and the essay, this one by Michael Worthington. So you'll notice that the way this essay is designed is different from how the first essay was designed. The grid is more or less the same, but the point is to make us actively engage with the text. So there's this back and forth between the paragraphs and the voices within the essay. Okay, so again, a section from a book reproduced as photographs of the book. Same deal here with an article from a magazine. And on it goes. Okay. Let's jump to the next section. So again, some decorative material. We're switching back to uncoated paper. Another quote. It's about the 60s. Pattern and essay. Here the essay, the introduction, diagram, and essay. This is super fun. This essay is by Lorraine Wild, and in it she's referring to different colors from the Pantone guide, and how those different colors have different cultural connotations in terms of the design community in the United States in a certain time period. I think she's talking about the early 70s here. Okay, so when Pantone 185 is referred to, it's in 185. Here it's warm red, 376, 384, 286, 165, etc. Similarly, bright California poppy orange is used to pop out certain sentences within the paragraphs. Okay. Super fun, super smart. And then it goes on from there. Just amazing. And then into the designer profile. So this is about the Eames office. So field of color, inset pattern, and then the work itself. Okay. All right, let's jump ahead again. So again, patterns. And we shift back to the coated paper, opening quote, section title, and introduction. The influences diagram, and the essay. So again, there are different ways of popping out different parts of the information as we're going through the essay. So this section of the book is about women designers in California. And so as the names of these women appear, they are popped out larger and in a brighter color as we go through. Okay. So remember, when you're working with text, ideas for how to differentiate the text for the reader are always built right into whatever the content is. So if you pay attention to that, it will give you ideas. All right. This is an article about Barbara Stoffaker-Solomon, who did the famous super graphics at Sea Ranch. I've seen these in person and they are really quite amazing. Yeah, this whole section is filled with all kinds of interesting work and fascinating people. Let's jump ahead a little bit more. Is this where I think I'm going? Yeah. So here's Barbara Stoffaker-Solomon again, and here's more of the Sea Ranch work. One interesting thing is that this material is still being used. So if you drive up to Sea Ranch, you will see this giant ram's horn logo on the buildings. It's pretty interesting. Deborah Sussman is a fascinating designer and has done amazing work. And I'm surprised it's not in here, but she was the lead designer for the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. Okay, here, Susan Kerr, the designer for all the original interface materials for the Macintosh. So that includes these famous icons, the typeface, incredible work. And then finally, April Greiman. I think it's really appropriate and terrific that the book ends with April Greiman. So, you know, the gradient here picks up on this gradient in the poster. And then this incredible poster, I remember seeing this when I was in grad school and it just completely melted my head. Yeah, April Greiman, one of the most amazing designers. This is her design for an issue of the, what was this called? Design Quarterly, the design publication for the Walker Art Center. And I happen to have a copy of it, so we'll switch gears briefly. So this is Design Quarterly 133. Does it make sense? If you give it a sense, it makes sense. So the issue is wrapped up in this folder that carries. So the folder has all the information about the publication, but the actual content is this giant fold-out poster. It says hello right there. Okay, it unfolds again. We are not going to be able to see all of this because the scale is just enormous. So there's the top, there's the bottom. And so April Greiman was instrumental in making the visual language that computers naturally created as part of her vocabulary. So instead of being disappointed that she couldn't get perfectly clear, clean images, she shot photographs of images on screen and then incorporated those textures and patterns into her work. Amazing, amazing stuff. Okay. This enormous portrait of her. All right, and then on the back is this giant pixelated portrait of her. So keep in mind that when this publication was made, which was when? Now I have to find out. 1986. So 1986, there was not a lot of processing power available to graphic designers in desktop computers, okay? So you're not going to get 300 DPI output. You're going to get super low res. And if you roll with it and you're okay with pixels, you can get these incredible, interesting textures. Like so. Okay. April Greiman, amazing. So here's a view where you can see everything a little bit better, but now you have a sense of the scale. Okay. All right. So here at the end, we have the notes. And what I think is interesting about all the back matter in the book is that every opportunity to do something interesting was taken. So you could, for the notes, you could just have a 1 and the note and be done. But instead, the 1 is popped out in a larger size, right? The numbers are a larger size and they're knocked out to white and they sit on a field of chrome yellow with a beautiful gradient image in the background. Okay. Here are the acknowledgments. Contributors. All right, this is probably the most interesting and fun selected bibliography I have ever seen. These things are usually not terribly interesting, but what they've done is they've taken each publication and put it in a box that is dimensional and then made that dimensional box a gradient. And then here's the list in text of all of those. And it continues on here. All right. Here's the index, pink background, black text with some white callouts. What is the white for? It says here, white page numbers refer to illustrations, okay? So you can see how it makes this interesting and beautiful field of black texture with white points popping out of it. And it also makes it really easy to navigate. So you can like instantly find these, all right? Oftentimes the way this is handled is like the page numbers for illustrations are set in italic, so they sort of blend into everything else. Here, they come forward in a really beautiful way. All right, here's the illustration credits and the copyright page. Oh, I missed it. Here's the, I'm sorry. Here are the design credits. It says design, LSD with Thomas Kracauer, Kaoru, Matsushita, Christopher Morabito, Derrick Schultz, Hayden Smith, and then the typeface is CIA Compendium by Gehlhaar. Okay, so sorry I missed that at the beginning, but glad to get that cleared up. So there you go. Really one of the most fantastic design books published recently. Let's get back to the view here. Okay. Yeah, just a terrific book. If you could find it, you should get it. It's just an amazing document. And what it really emphasizes to me is how many more books we need like this that take a thin slice of something and just open it up completely. So I'm looking forward to California in graphic design from 1987 to whenever Louise gets to it. Okay, so that's it for this time. Thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if there's any particular kind of book you want me to go over, and I'll see you next time. Bye.